No, no. No, don't drop it. Come on, leave it on the bed. No, no! Hey everyone! So unless you've been living under a rock for the past few months, you're probably more than well aware of Bluey the video game. A video game that's an adaptation of Bluey, of course, which was announced a while back and has recently been released a couple days ago as of writing this. And with that said, I know there's gonna be a ton of people asking me for my thoughts on the game, especially as I had already produced a video in which I predicted that the game could actually be really good. But now that the game has officially been released, I thought now would be a good time to actually check it out and see if it's actually great or if it's really just a cheap $40 cash grab. Yes, that's actually how much it costs, but we'll discuss that later. However, without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so today is Friday, November 17th, I think. I think today's the day the game's supposed to come out. I'm just here at a Best Buy, gonna see if they have it. Said they did on the website, but I'm gonna have to check. Alright, so I spent a few minutes inside a Best Buy. I was kind of scared because I didn't see anything on the shelves, but I asked an employee if they had any, and voila, here it is. We finally got Bluey, the video game. Alright, so as of me speaking right now, I have recently just finished playing the game, which only took me about a couple hours, although I wouldn't recommend doing it in one take, which I'll get to later. But overall, I thought it was decent, because in general, I was pretty excited for the game, but of course, wanted to keep my expectations realistic, as this is more or less a game meant for children and families. And with that in mind, the main game itself is not very long at all, lasting about an hour I believe, if not much less, which is fully understandable, as I don't think anyone is expecting some mind-blowing, crazy, full-fledged action-adventure, although I can kinda see why some might think the price for it at $40 is a bit much, as the overall time you can spend in this game is somewhat limited. But speaking of the main adventure, the game does have the advantage of including an original story, with the healers going on a treasure hunt to find something Bandit hid back in the 80s, along with various shenanigans and other chaos. Also, for those who are expecting to see their favorite characters, you might be disappointed, because unless yours just happens to be Bluey, Bingo, Chili, Bandit, Muffin, Stripe, Rat, or Mort, they don't really appear, as the cast is mainly streamlined to focus on the main family. And now that I think of it, I don't even know if Socks appears, and Grandpa Bob technically does, but only in a still picture. Thought I'd mention that because I feel like he has quite the following, for some reason. Also, yeah, they do have an entire scene calling back to Fairy Tale, and I absolutely love it, but going back to the story, it's a simple but very sweet one, as there's lots of fun, craziness, and even some emotion, along with references to various episodes throughout this show, in a vein kinda similar to Bluey's Big Play, for anyone who's seen that, where the game has an overarching original story, but tons of moments inspired by previous episodes. And overall, it won't make you bawl your eyes out crying or anything like that, but it's a perfectly good story, and one that works great for a video game. And on the topic of the show, the graphics also do a surprisingly good job adapting the show's style, featuring 2D characters that directly match the show's design, but in a 3D environment that has been overlaid to resemble the show. And of course, it is expected to not be as good as the show obviously, but for a video game it's pretty nice. And on top of that, it all runs pretty smooth. Something that my absolute garbage equipment wasn't really able to do justice for. So if you want to get a more realistic look at the visuals, I would recommend watching the trailer. But with that said, you're probably wondering about the most important part. You know, the actual gameplay in the game. And overall, it's also decent, because from my experience, some of the controls can be a bit slippery, making some goals or platforms an absolute pain to reach. Although I did play this game on the Switch, which is a console I don't use that often, so I mostly attribute that to my lack of experience. Although even with that said, for what I assumed would just be a basic children's game, some aspects of it are shockingly difficult, as outside of the main story, a majority of the game is mostly spent finding various objects, some of which are obvious and easy, but others that can pose a challenge to reach, with some taking me tons of attempts to actually get. So while this game certainly isn't crazy hard, it definitely doesn't really hold your hand, or make everything obvious either. And with that, I will admit that trying to get all of the stickers, which basically keep track of everything you found, probably took longer than the actual main story, mostly because there's just so much to find, especially as you have to look everywhere across all of the different levels, which are surprisingly not really that small. And once you find all of the objects, you can also water the plants to complete the game. Now, that might sound easy, until you realize that you must water one of every plant in the game to actually win, spending time to find each one, get the watering can, refill the watering can, go back to the plant, water it, realize the thing is already running out, and then find out that the plant you just watered wasn't even a new one. Yeah, it gets kinda tedious, especially after a while. And even with completing all of this, I don't think anything actually happens, because as far as I saw, there aren't any special cutscenes or even items unlocked, as you can collect experience to unlock new hats at first,
Cobbler hat!
but eventually, the game kinda runs out and gives you these starry ribbon things, which I don't think really do much. So unless you strive for absolute perfection, doing all of these activities really isn't that rewarding. Also, on top of that, there are also special achievements, some of which actually seem pretty challenging, even for experienced players. But as far as I'm concerned, I wasn't able to unlock any of them. And frankly, I don't think they were even added on the version I got. However, with that, there is another element of this game that's actually quite fun, which are the minigames. Now of course, this isn't a Mario Party or anything, but the game does include 4, all of which are based on iconic episodes. All of these were actually quite fun, although I did kind of mess up on Keepy Uppy. I seriously do not get it, like I'm pushing all the buttons and nothing's working. Okay, well, I have no clue how to throw it or do anything, so that really sucked, but yeah, we totally failed.
Oh no,
Not good.
They all lost. But with all that said, it seems like I've been kinda mixed on this video game throughout this video. So overall, what's my personal verdict? Is it actually good or not so much? And well, in general, I would say that if you are a big fan of this show, I would definitely check it out, as it does have moments that can be tedious or even a bit stressful, and for what you pay, the gameplay is kinda short, but I do think it's an overall great adaptation of the show, being filled with pleasant enough visuals, fun moments, and tons of references and callbacks to past episodes, making for an overall fun experience. And although I did play it on single player, I feel like this could be a lot more fun with multiple people. So if you can somehow encourage friends or family to join in, I would recommend trying that. But in the end, if you're already on the fence or hesitant to buy this game, I will admit that you're not really missing out on much or anything too crazy. Although if you do have a bored afternoon or some money to spend on wholesome family fun, I would give it a try. And when my great friend Redworld tried it out, he said he genuinely loved the game and liked how it gave the player a bit of a challenge to make it interesting. In fact, I was actually watching him live stream the game earlier, and with how difficult some of the goals were, seeing him win the final achievement was a legitimately crazy moment, and honestly pretty awesome. But with that said, I'm curious to know your thoughts on the game. Have you tried it yet? And do you think it's any good? Is it perhaps better than Bluey Let's Play? I think we all know the answer to that one. But with that, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. My name's Hideaki, and I'll be signing out. Have a great day, everyone, and until next time, goodbye. I'm sure they'll probably do something like that.
Okay, and there wasn't even actual treasure.
Dang!
I'm sorry.
Wow!
This is the worst holidays ever.
Duh! Bluey's savage! She's just like, yeah, that kinda sucked.